When God says move, he will send manipulators, instigators, and agitators to get you to move up out of that thing. He will send people and situations into your life that will make you so irritated that you don't have a choice but to move. Story time. When I was in my job, my previous job, which I worked in for a very long time. It was my career. It's what I went to school for. It's what I went to college for. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for a very long time. However, once I was done with that particular calling, okay, and it was time for me to grow and to move on, because I had learned all the lessons that I needed and had picked up all the tools that I needed, and my spiritual growth and my mental and emotional growth had reached its peak for the next thing that it is that I needed to do. God was like, okay, you're done here. Now I need you to go on so that you can move into your purpose. And I was stuck. I was stuck in a paycheck, a consistent paycheck, a dependable paycheck that I needed. But fear was stopping me from moving on into what God had for me. And in the process, he began to send people and scenarios in that job that made it really, really hard for me to stay. And just from the way that I was raised in my generation, you just, if the job, if it was a good job and it paid you good money, then you stayed. It served its purpose, as mine did. Now, I had been in this particular career field for over 20 something years. I graduated from school, got my degrees, and went straight into the field that I went to school for. And like I said, it served its purpose. It was good to me for many years. I was able to feed my family, help to feed my family. It put a roof over our heads. We lived a good life. And that money was good and it was steady. So, of course, I was fearful of stepping out on faith, because that's basically what I was doing. So I had multiple jobs in many hospitals and laboratories. And for the most part, I liked them. But in the ending years, in the last few years, before I stepped into my purpose, I was finding myself in places that had people in it who were manipulators, instigators, and agitators. The last few jobs that I had in the last few years, and I thought to myself, oh my God, this is the worst place that I can be, and I need to go. And in some of those instances, I went on and found another job. But in this particular job, I had decided that, you know what, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to be here until it's time for me to retire. Well, God had other plans. He had other plans. And in that space, I was around some of the most immature, most unhappy people that I had ever met. They were stepping on each other's toes. They were engaged in childish behavior. It was like being in high school with the gossip and the talking about people and telling on people instead of minding their business. I don't know, it was bad. It was bad. I was the go-to person. I was the dependable person. I was always on my job, never missed. I had to be really sick in order to miss my job, and I never get sick, knock on wood. I was the go-to person. If somebody called out, hey, can you come over here and cut? Sure, no problem. I was that person. And it took me actually having to physically see that they didn't give a damn about me. I was just a number. As long as I was doing the job and doing what they asked of me, oh honey, they loved me. But as soon as the tables turned and I needed just something to a favor in order to, and not even a favor, an accommodation, in order to take care of a family member who needed to be taken care of, my daughter. My daughter had gotten sick, and I needed to be able to take her to her treatments twice a week. And I asked if I could leave an hour early. I just need to leave an hour early. And I didn't see where the problem was. However, it was a matter of, oh, we're going to have to see if we can do that. Okay. A week went by. I didn't hear back. And someone said, you know what? You need to take steps to be able to do that, because there are steps that you can take. And I did so. And it was always a problem. It was always a problem. Now, I'm going to tell you something. That's when I knew it was time to go, because I had been the go-to person, the person who went above and beyond. And I asked for this one thing, and it was something very important. I actually told them what it was, and it was still met with, we're going to have to see. You're going to have to see about my child? No. There's no seeing about my child. Now, I had already decided that if they came back and said, well, we can't do that, I'm leaving. And I don't mean you getting a 2 weeks notice. I mean, I'm walking out. And that was God's way of saying, of pushing me, giving me that push that I needed to be able to get over my fear. And I'm going to tell you something. Before then, it was other things that was irritating to me. You know, there was the manipulators. And by way of, I'll give you an example. We had some instrumentation that was going to be implemented, some new instrumentation, and they couldn't get it working. But I had a supervisor who wanted to take credit for everything. So she went in and with another supervisor, and they came in and they did the programming. Why are you doing the programming when I'm going to have to operate the instrumentation? But, you know, I didn't say anything. Long story short, when they would leave, I'd go in and see what they did. And one day I went in, and I'd randomly do that. I went in because they kept saying, something's wrong, we can't get it together. It had been weeks. And they put in some wrong numbers. So when they came back, hey, this number is incorrect. Where? Are you sure? Yeah, let me show you. And instead of giving me the acknowledgement, oh, wow, thank you. Not only did they not acknowledge me, but she took the credit for it. Went back and said, oh, I found what the problem was. And I found this out later on the back end. Manipulators. The instigators. There was this woman who was the most irritating, most immature, most attention-seeking troublemaker I had ever encountered on my job. She was in everybody's business. She was doing things that high schoolers would do. Okay, no one liked her, but she was that little fly, you know, that buzzes around in your ear, and you keep shooing it away and ignoring it until one day you get the fly swatter. You get the fly swatter. She always started trouble in the workplace. I was able to stay, out of that for the most part because I kind of kept to myself. But, oh my God. Horrible. She was the instigator. The agitator came from the overall manager telling me, oh, we really need you. And I don't know if we're going to be able to go ahead and let you get off so that you can go and bring your daughter for treatments that is needed for her survival. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much what I said. Okay. I already had decided on the spot that if y'all came back and told me that I couldn't take my daughter to go get her treatments, I'm walking out that day. He was the agitator. Because after I went out and I utilized the program that was there for me to protect this type of situation, he would come and kind of do that, that thing, that passive thing where you're implying something and you're talking about something, but you're not actually saying it outright. Yeah, he was the agitator. So it took all of that in order for me to be able to step out on faith and move. God wasn't playing. He wasn't playing. He was like, okay, I done told you it's time to go because I need you to do this thing over here. You did great over here, but I need you to go over here and I need you to do this thing. And yeah, manipulator, instigator, agitator. It was all there. It was what I needed to go ahead. I was so irritated that I had to go. And once I did step out on faith and overcame the fear that I had of losing that stable paycheck because I was going to be going into working for myself in my purpose, the reward on the other side is tremendous. I wake up happy every day, happy to go to my job, appreciative of going to my job that God created for me to work in his purpose. Another thing that happened is right off the bat, what it took me a week to make on that 9-to-5 job, I made in 2 days. What I made in 2 weeks on that job, I make in 4 days. Abundance followed once I listened to what God was telling me to do. And I couldn't be more happy. And this is just the beginning. And in all of that, I get to help people. I'm making a change in people's lives, in my life as well. So when God tells you to move, take the leap, walk out on faith. Because if you don't, he's going to send manipulators, instigators, and agitators to get you to move in the direction that he needs you to move. So move, go, step out on faith, do that thing. I hope this helps someone. Until next time, bye.